Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Wahakwadash Rakah. Double honors to the hopeful elect elders over at the Great Millstone Church who rule well, and likewise to all the hopeful elect elders of the Israelite nation who are doing likewise. Peace and many blessings be to the hopeful elect men out teaching this truth in the four corners of the earth where we have been scattered. And peace and many blessings be to the rest of the 1/3, the men, women, and children, all you true believers of the Israelite nation. We'll get straight into it. The title of this lesson is going to be Use It or Lose It. And, ultimately, that's a quote that is used in the world to explain physical gains, and usually upon lifting weights. You hear this in the gym. And when you're lifting and making gains, you're strengthening your muscles. You hitting the gym. You might start off in one place. At one point, I might be lifting 180 pounds. And through my constant use of my muscles and strengthening, I go on and be able to lift 220 pounds. Say that goes on to happen. I'm constantly lifting 220 pounds. And then for whatever reason, I stop hitting the gym for a year straight. And I come back to the gym and I get under the 220 pounds expecting to be able to lift it. And I can't. The purpose that would happen is because I failed to use that strength or that muscle that I had gained. All right. Thus, use it or lose it. And it's ultimately that simple. The reason of bringing that up is to draw the parallel between the scriptures. Matthew chapter 25:14, it says, "For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country." And let's note that these are red letters, implying that this is Yahweh Shai speaking, and Yahweh Shai being who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right. So for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country. This man that he's speaking of is himself. And him traveling into a far country is representing him going into the third heaven. Him being on the right hand of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. And in heaven, all right, that's the far country. And it says, who called his own servants. Him calling his own servants would be the true believers of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and ultimately the elect and 1/3 of the Israelite nation. And at this point, they are the hopeful elect. So he called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. His goods are represented by talents in this parable, but those goods are ultimately the spiritual gifts that are given, the hopeful elect men at this point, the elect, to bring forth, to put to use. And there's many different spiritual gifts. And we'll come here really quick to 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And we'll start at verse 1. It says, "Now concerning spiritual gifts," right, these goods, it says, "Brethren, I would not have you ignorant." You go hop up to verse 4. It says, "Now there are diversities of gifts." All right. So there's many gifts. Each man might hold a different gift, right? A different spiritual gift, a talent. It says, "But the same Spirit." All right. And there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operation, but it is the same God which worketh all in all. The point for this lesson is here in verse 7. It says, "But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal." All right. So you get spiritual gifts to profit, to make a come up, to put to use. But we'll keep reading. It says, "For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom." All right. So that's one spiritual gift. To another, the word of knowledge by the same Spirit. To another, faith by the same Spirit. To another, the gifts of healing by the same Spirit. To another, the working of miracles. To another, prophecy. To another, discerning of spirits. To another, diverse kinds of tongues. To another, the interpretation of tongues. All right. But all these work it that one and the self same Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. All right. So every man is going to get according to his abilities, and they're all going to have their own specific portion and gift. All right. And these are the goods that Yahweh Shai delivered unto his servants. All right. Who are the true believers, who are at this point the hopeful elect, who are going to be, those the true men would be the elect, you see. But let's stay on task. Verse 15, it says, "And unto one he gave 5 talents, just denoting his specific gifts and the amount. And the talents here is denoting monetary, like money, a weight of gold or silver, for the parable, but it's a representation of these spiritual gifts that we have. It says to another two, and to another one, to every man according to his several ability, as we just read in 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter. And straightway took his journeys. So the Lord is gone. He's in the third heaven, as in now, But when we are beholding these talents and awaiting his return. Verse 16, it says, then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents. And likewise, he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 7 says, but the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. All right. So these men were right in line with what they ought to be doing. Verse 15, verse 18 is where we left off. It says, but he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. All right. So to the one that was given the least, he did nothing with. But not the point. The point being is that these talents are to be used to profit. Let's keep reading. It says, after a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. And that's representing the return of the Lord. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought forth and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. So he did accordingly. He made a profit. His Lord said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His Lord said unto him, well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. You see 1 Corinthians 12 and 7. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. So these men, they did accordingly. They made their profit. Verse 24, then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. All right, so this man went forth just to hide his talent. And as we read, you're giving these spiritual gifts or these talents to profit, to not hide them. To make another point, we'll come here to Matthew chapter 5. We just started verse 14 and read through. It says, ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. It says, neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel. It's the same as this man burying his talents. He wasn't given that light to hide it. He was giving it to use it. It says, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is heaven, which is the point of you having this talent in the first place, or these spiritual gifts, this money. Verse 26, his Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gathered where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. So ultimately you had options, but you chose to do nothing. You chose to hide that light. You chose to put it in a hiding place and not shine forth. You had options, and you did the very least. You just hid that talent. You did nothing. It says, take therefore the talent from him, because it's the point of the lesson. Take therefore the talent from him. and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. Again, is use it or lose it. You was given this talent, this ability, this strength, but you didn't put it to work. So it's going to be taken away from you. Take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away, even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So, point made, you have to use it or you're going to lose it. To wrap up, point is everyone has been given a specific gift or a natural talent, if you will, and it requires us to use it, to shine that light forth. And if you fail to use it, you're going to go ahead and lose it. So don't compare yourself to anybody else. All right. You can't be looking at somebody who has 5 talents and to be expecting to work like that person. You can't be looking at the person that has 2 talents. You have to use the one that you have been given, or whatever talent you have been given, and whatever measure you have been given, and develop it. These things that you have are your personal strengths, the things that you were given as gifts. No matter if you believe it seems small compared to the next person, it's what you have, and that's what you have to offer, and that's what you have to work with. All right. And like any muscle, as we start off the lesson speaking about, like any muscle, the best way to develop your strength is by putting it to use. That's how you strengthen it. So basically, at every opportunity you have to use your strength, you got to go ahead and put it forth to use. And that way you will never lose it. Why? Because you're strengthening it. You're constantly using it. And you're going to go ahead with that talent and enhance it, sculpt it and be able to put it to use accordingly upon what? Strengthening it and constantly using it, constantly working towards that ability. But simply put, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. Lord willing, this was edifying. Shalom.